for a while, sharing his experience, strength, and hope. My good friend, Frank.
Hi, everybody. I'm Frank. I'm an alcoholic and drug addict. My sobriety date is January 10th, 1995. But that really doesn't mean anything. All it means is I just haven't drank in all these years. It's not like a status or a badge I wear. It's just that's just the reality of the situation. Yeah, I grew up in a little town called Avon Lake, Ohio, right on the shores of Lake Erie, on the west side of Cleveland, in a nice suburb. I'm the youngest of five. My parents divorced when I was 11 or 12. And I believe I was an alcoholic from the start. I just don't react to alcohol like other people. And I grew up, I hear it a lot in meetings that, I didn't feel like everybody else. I didn't feel like I fit in, and that I was different from everybody. And I am. I'm an alcoholic and drug addict to the core. I have the mind of a chronic alcoholic. That's just how I'm wired. And there was a lot of abuse and neglect growing up, and I was exposed to a lot of criminal behavior, a lot of alcoholism, a lot of drug use, sex at an early age, pornography, infidelity was promoted. I idolized my brothers, and they were criminals and gamblers and hard drinkers, hard partiers, and womenizers. They none of them were faithful to their wives, or yeah. So those were my influences. Those are the people I looked up to. That's what I thought was cool. I don't know if that really had anything to do with my drinking or drug use. I know I liked the effects of alcohol a lot. And I was lying, cheating, and stealing long before I ever picked up. And I was exposed to alcohol young. I remember getting drunk at a wedding. One of my brothers got married, and I look back at the pictures. I think I was like 10 or 11. I was part of the wedding party, so I was in this little powder blue tuxedo, and I remember getting in trouble because I got it all grass stained because I was out jumping over the bushes drunk, and I remember throwing up in the bathroom at the rehearsal for the party afterward. But yeah, I remember saying, during a hangover when I was real little, that I was never going to do that again. And then I just forgot all about the throwing up in the dry heaves because, I threw up a lot. I blacked out a lot. When I was 15, I went to a friend of mine's house after school, and his mother told me I was an alcoholic. She said, I was married to an asshole like you. You have to change. You are not the same kid that came in here, 15 minutes ago. And, we'd been upstairs doing bong hits, and she saw the personality change, and she called me out on it. And, but to me, that was the only solution. That was the only good thing in my life. I really had a hard time with emotions, relationships with girls, talking to girls, authority. I was very angry. I did a lot of, I would get hammered and go out on these rampages of destructive vandalism in my nice white, affluent neighborhood, where I would just destroy everything I could get my hands on. And, I drove through a lot of lawns with the car, and that kind of behavior. I was brought home by the police. I think I was in this new town for 2 weeks, and I was brought home by the police to my parents for disobeying the police. And I think it was like a 4 square mile town that had a lot of police on duty all the time, and it seemed like they were constantly just chasing me. And I got in a lot of trouble. I did good in school, but I had cough medicine in my locker. I would drink cough medicine during the day. I smoked weed on the way to school, after school. Anything I could get my hand on. You know, I snipped a lot of glue. I did a lot of paint, a lot of gasoline, anything for kicks. You know, and I didn't really see anything wrong with it. I thought I was just, you know, if people didn't do what I did, they were missing out. You know, I enjoyed getting away with things. That was part of the whole thrill of life, was getting over on people, getting away with stuff. Um, I got a DUI early, like 16, I think. I had already gotten my license suspended before I could even get it for running from the police on my dirt bike. Um, so I had to wait till I was 16 and a half before I got my driver's license. Then I got it suspended again for the DUI. And then, you know, I'd been to juvenile court a bunch of times already. And um, at that point, I think they sent me to AA and I had to go to outpatient treatment. So I started doing that. And I had realized that I couldn't control my drinking once I started. It's like I got to a point where I didn't want to get drunk. I wanted to have fun and just have like a 6, 8 beer buzz in me and ride that out all night. And I just couldn't stop once I started, even though I didn't really want to. You know, I didn't want to get drunk, but I couldn't keep it from happening. I couldn't control it. And that's how it's always been. I mean, there's been times of moderation where I could like negotiate with my illness to just get by with what I had and not get too out of control. It was maintenance drinking, that kind of thing. That came later. So yeah, I was exposed to AA like 16, 17 years old. Walked into my first meeting and I immediately felt there was something different there. These were a whole another type of human beings that I'd never met before, that I hadn't, you know, been exposed to. People that really seemed concerned for my welfare, that put out their hand and welcomed me, remembered my name. That really impressed me. When the first time somebody remembered my name in a meeting, I was impressed. I was touched, I guess would be a better word for it. Um, but yeah, I picked up the big book and I related to everything in there. Um, I had decided not to go to college because I realized that it would be a waste of money because I had no self-control. Um, so I decided to go in the military after they could straighten my ass out because I knew I was out of control. So I signed up to go in the Marines and I tested real good. I got a qualified entrance program, 6-year program, and officers training school, and this whole, you know, nice package. And but I had to jump through a lot of hoops to get approved. People had to write letters and tell them what a good person I was because of my legal trouble I had already. And so I got off the pot so I could pass the drug test to get in there. And my drinking escalated. And then I tried to quit drinking on my own. And well, you know, I had been going to AA, so I knew it was kind of an issue. So it's all very confusing that whole time period. And my two buddies picking up, it was like a Friday night, and they were both going in the military as well, so we were all hanging together. And they had a 15 pack of like Natural Light or something in the front of the truck, and they offered me a beer, and I said no, I'm not drinking. I just want to get out of this town. I want to get away from these cops, and I want to start a life somewhere else. And that's not gonna, you know. And I lasted about 15 minutes in the front of that truck with those two dudes drinking. And I picked up a drink and it's like we knew it. It was like, oh, you know what's that going to happen now? And it's exactly did. And I was 18 in 4 days. I got arrested with those two dudes. And one of them was his dad was a cop, and the other guy, his father was a state highway patrolman. So I took the fall for all three of us, and ended up doing a month at the workhouse in Cleveland. And it could have been a lot worse. You know, I was petrified, man, sitting in jail. It's like, you know, they talk about a higher power. And that was like my first experience of a higher power, was standing in front of that judge and him saying 90 days jail. And, you know, I was freaking out. And he let me get a lawyer, and they finally got it done in 30 days. But they were going to punish me. So I called the recruiter and say, look, I got arrested. And he's like, Frank, we don't want you. You're getting too much trouble. If you would have done this, you'd be in the brig for the next 5 years. So now I'm hopeless. Now I got no place to go. That was my out. That was my escape hatch. That was my future. And that was going to fix me. And so now I'm suicidal. And I'm not telling anybody. I had a plan worked out, and I was just going along, keeping up appearances, um, and I had to see that counselor, that outpatient counselor. And for some reason, I just broke down and told her the truth, and she saved my life. And that was my beginning in AA. Really, I surrendered and started accepting help. And there was a part of me that always wanted to help coming into meetings. It was just it was just really small, and it was really weak. And somehow everything changed. I met the right people. I got the right advice. Nobody gave me that this is what you have to do, or how willing are you to stay sober, because really I wasn't. I just met all the right people at all the right times, and I got sober. And they said no relationships in the first year, and I was happy to hear that. Emotionally, I just couldn't deal with that kind of relationship. A relationship with a woman was like my big downfall, my big I don't know, it was really big feelings that I couldn't handle. And so I was happy to take a break from that with an excuse. And um, I was sober like 16 months. Then I met a girl at a meeting. She came in and she had this glow, it was like this golden aura, it's like, it's just so funny now. But I can see it like it was yesterday. And she wasn't one of us, but she had gotten hooked up with some teen program that centered in AA meetings, and she didn't have a problem. She just liked going, Teen Institute or something like that. And so yeah, we started dating. I got her pregnant. I immediately started working 60 hours a week, cut down on my meetings. My brothers go to Indianapolis every year for the time trials, and we ride motorcycles down there. And my father would come up from Oklahoma, and we would meet him there. And that was like our annual trip. And it was always just a big, cocaine, pot, drinking, strip clubs, high-speed motorcycle, passing semis on the right, in between, and just insane motorcycle riding and behavior. And somehow I got the idea in my head that I could party one weekend out of the year and get it all out of my system, all this new stress I had being a new father and having this new job. And I could party one weekend and come back and be sober again. So that's what I did. I mean, there was, it just seemed like a good idea at the time, and that's what I did. And whatever. So I came back after that weekend, and A had lost. I had lost something very important to me sitting in a meeting. I just didn't feel like I used to feel. And so I grabbed my sponsor and I was like, hey, man, when I went to India, I got wasted. And he's like, dude, I got a bag in my car. And here my sponsor had been smoking weed the whole time. I call him my pot smoking sponsor. And so me and him were off and running. It's like, out of all the people I knew in AA, I just picked the wrong guy to tell. And me and him would just, I told my wife I was going to meetings, and we'd go get high and go to the movies. We'd go get high and go golfing, go get high and go fishing. And, but I stayed away from drinking for a long, long time because I knew. So I just smoked weed and functioned. And then I got a cold, and I started drinking cough medicine again. And then I got hooked on cough medicine again, and I was drinking that around the clock. And we went to a bar in the flats, me and him, and he set me up on this blind date with this girl. And I'm standing at the bar with this girl, and I have a medicinal bottle of cough medicine in my pocket, and I think, you know what, this is stupid, just give me a rum and coke. And it was just like that, and I was right back to it. It took me I think 7 years to get sober again. And at the end, I was drinking around the clock, late stage alcoholism, DTs, withdrawal. I couldn't eat. I wouldn't sleep. I would just pass out and get up and drink again. And those of you that know that routine, I don't have to explain it to you. It's weird. I was sitting out here one day and I was thinking, it was the thing that was making me sick was the only thing that cured it. So the only thing that took that sick feeling away was drinking, and that's what was causing the sick feeling. And I was just stuck in that cycle, and I couldn't quit. And then the wife had called and had me arrested, and that's a whole another too long of a story for all that. Anyway, so they sent me back to meetings, and this, in my thinking at the time, was don't send me back to those fucking AA meetings. I tried that sober thing once and I didn't like it. Just give me the jail time. But I got put on probation. I had to come back to meetings, and you guys saved me again. And that's really the disease I have, that ignorance. I just ignore. I don't think about the consequences before I drink. I don't think this is what's going to happen again. And my thinking at late stages alcoholism was, I don't want to quit. I don't care. I'll drink myself to death. I don't care. I really didn't care. And I had 3 small kids. I had a job, I had a house, I had cars, and I was drinking myself to death, and I didn't know what else to do. But yeah, I got back into AA. I started making coffee and doing what I did, and I went to lots of meetings and talked to lots of people, and I was hooked up with a great group of guys at this men's meeting on Monday, and I had 2 home groups, Monday and Thursday, and that was really good for me. I went to meetings in between, but the security that comes from having meetings you don't miss. It's like, no matter what happened on Sunday, I knew I'd be at a meeting on Monday. No matter what happened on Tuesday, I knew I was going to be at a meeting on Thursday, and everything was going to be okay. And that's really what I felt. That was the feeling I got from AA, that everything was going to be okay. No matter what, everything was going to be okay. And I ran that for years. I was treasurer and secretary, and really lived a long, good, happy life. I raised the kids. They would come to meetings with me. We ended up getting divorced, so I was a single dad with kids, and they would come to meetings with me and sit in the back and color. And but those are the people that my kids grew up around. Those are the people that my kids went on vacation with. They were sober members of AA that were happy, safe. Nobody was yelling and screaming. Nobody was fighting. It was just sane behavior that my kids were exposed to. And they grew up in a quiet house after the divorce. And yeah, so now today, my son's got 12 years. He just celebrated 12 years on Halloween. And my daughter's got 2 years sober down in Florida. And my middle daughter has the signs, but it's not giving her any trouble. I mean, I've seen the change in her when she drinks. But she just had a baby, a year and a half ago. So, it may hit her someday, it may not. Who knows? But I know that our holidays are nice and quiet now. Went up on the holiday season. We were talking about this yesterday. It's not the drunken, police-involved holidays anymore. It's not the yelling and screaming, the fighting and drunken behavior holidays anymore. I mean, one Christmas Eve, I thought my brother had a stroke. And I was like, hey, what's wrong with Larry? And my other brother said, no, man, he just did so much coke that half of his face is numb. But that's the kind of Christmas parties we had in my family. So I don't go to those parties anymore. And now we have nice, quiet dinners with my kids. And my son's dating a sober girl, and I've had relationships with good women in AA, and I've had relationships with women that were drinking and using drugs that didn't work out well at all. So I think I'm done with that whole thinking. I think my dating pool is just sober, recovering people from now on. But I had to try, But yeah, I've struggled in AA. I moved. I was down in Florida for 10 years. Came back to Ohio, and my ex-wife got sick and died of cancer finally. That was fucking horrific. Fuck. So yeah, that's why I'm in Ohio. 2 of my kids live up here. But yeah, I struggled changing locations, getting involved in AA, and I have a tendency to isolate. So I've gone through periods of depression. My mental illness gets really bad sometimes, and I isolate. And I tell you, the pandemic saved my life. This whole Zoom platform saved my life. 2 years ago at this time, I was a fucking mess. Depression, suicide, anxiety, panic. I couldn't leave the house. I couldn't work. The only time I would get out of bed was to take the dogs out. And the only time I went to the store was when the dogs needed food. And, I would force myself to go to the holidays with the kids. Just for some reason, me being a parent is strong enough to beat all my isms or illness. That supersedes everything. So if my kids need me, I go regardless of how I feel. And I can't always stay. And they understand that I have my limits, and they're really happy that I found Zoom, and I'm happy here because I'm a lot more sane. And they told me so much that I'm a lot better off than I was 2 years ago. And but yeah, Zoom came on, and I just started going back to meetings in person. And when the pandemic happened, and somebody sent me a link and said, "Hey, come check this out. This is our old home group from that men's meeting 20, 30 years ago." So I got to see all my old buddies back there, and then I got turned on to this other meeting, and I got real active in that. And then I found Free Thinkers Cleveland, and that turned into Tusnua, Ireland. And I could go on for a half hour about how great Zoom is. And I feel bad for like my friends that are sober that don't like the Zoom, because I really feel like they're missing out. I don't feel a need to go to in-person meetings. I have occasionally over the pandemic. There's a small group that meets outside where there's 6 to 8 people. But I have some serious lung issues, so I don't like to be exposed. And I did get vaccinated. So yeah, but I really don't feel like I need to be in an in-person meeting to risk my health. And I'm happy here at Zoom. It's just so convenient. And yeah, as far as like secular and all that, I didn't know what secular was. I went to this meeting because I liked it. I didn't really know there was some reason that all these people got together. And because people, like, over the years, I would speak at speaker meetings, and they would say, I would get these comments from people that would be like, "Frank, well, you did a great job, but you didn't really talk about God too much." And I was like, "Well, that's not. I believe in AA. I know AA works, and I'm not saying I'm not. Uh, I don't even really. I mean, I don't really care. I mean, it's not an issue to me as far as religion or spirituality or whatever. I know AA works. I'm happier when I hang out with alcoholics on Zoom, in person. You guys have been around my life. Yeah, I have friends that are 30 years. We've been together 30 years in sobriety, and we're still friends today. We still talk, and we still help each other. And it's been a long, good life. I've traveled the world in sobriety. We were talking about West Virginia and Florida, and whitewater rafting, cliff jumping, parachute, skydiving, scuba diving, snorkeling, all sober. And it's, none of that would have happened if I didn't get sober. I'd be in prison or dead. I know that for sure. And, it's like people, I don't really think about drinking. It's not like an option. I jokingly say I'd be better off catching myself on fire than taking a drink. And that's really how I feel about it. It's just, I see it as the poison that it is. And it's just not something I can do. And it never has been. But yeah, I just feel like I'm kind of rambling, but I hope I help somebody. And I'm definitely an alcoholic 100%. There's no doubt. So thanks, BriJet, for asking me, and thanks for listening to me ramble, everybody.